Welcome to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk, a show about ancient coins from the viewpoint of a seasoned professional with nearly 30 years' experience. Here's Aaron Berk and Mike Nottleman on the Ancient Coin Podcast.
And the sound of whatever noise that is means it's time once again for the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk. He's Aaron Berk. And I'm Mike.
You're Mike Nottleman.
Yes, I am. And on tonight's show, we have got another loaded show. Lots of auctions, lots of stuff going on. There's a recap of the old ones. And for a change, no Doofus purchase. But you know what? Every once in a while we get some love. So I guess I'm going to set you up, Aaron, and you can tell me, it's like, what is going on in the world of auctions?
Well, actually, I don't have a review because the last review we did was for CNG 130, and that hasn't happened yet. So I couldn't really give a review of it. So I decided, why don't we do several different auctions that are coming up? And we'll see where that goes. And I sort of had a Doofus purchase, but I decided not to do it because it was kind of retreading the exact same scenario that I did a few weeks ago.
Yeah, you don't need
so no one's heeding the call of overpaying for. Well, it seems that people keep overpaying for shekels of tire, but they're just popular, I guess. So I don't
they're going to always overpay for those.
But anyway, we hit this auction house.
I'm sorry. They're always going to overpay for those. They're always going to overpay for Athenian Tets. They're always going to overpay for 12 Caesars. It's the most popular coins in the hobby. Are always going to have that they appeal to a broader audience, so there's just more pressure on them for price.
Well, there's overpaying and then there's Doofus. So
right.
I think it's okay to overpay, but sometimes the Doofus becomes too much. And there's definitely a couple Doofuses out there. But anyway, people have their reasons for doing it. So we looked at this auction house a while ago, and they have another decent one coming up on September 17th and 18th, Ancient and World coins out of Germany. And so this one doesn't have a lot of high-end coins, and so that's why I thought it'd be a good place for, a lot of our listeners who don't have big money to spend. This is probably a nice auction for them because there's some interesting things in here, not very expensive, and probably fill a lot of needs for somebody who's price conscious. Yeah. So the first one I wanted to look at was lot 34. And I pulled these up because this is actually going to tie into my educational, like I always try to do. So these are Olbia cast bronze dolphin coins. They come out of the Black Sea. And we're going to talk a lot about Olbia, but coming up. But it's I always like to, when I'm doing the educational, it's fun to find coins that are actually come up for auction within the educational. So that's always fun to do. These are very, very common. That's why it's being offered in a group lot here. But you can see one of the coins there has a signature on the reverse of the coin. We'll get into that educational part of it. But these are pretty plentiful. It is actual money, and
people were seemingly
a lot of fun.
People were seemingly fascinated with dolphins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
yeah,
and it's it's a very. I think people are still excited about dolphins today. I don't think much has changed, but there was definitely a relationship between dolphins and the gods, and so that's why I think they were used so often in iconography. And in this case, they are the money themselves, which is pretty cool. And these are cast again; these are not struck. So there are a couple scenarios throughout ancient coin production where this happens, and we've studied some of those things in the Roman Republican period, the Osgravs, and then here in Olbia. And there's a couple other cities that do cast bronzes as well. And so it does happen occasionally, but these are one of the cast scenarios. So moving on to lot 67. I love these Ptolemies. These are these very large bronzes issued by the Ptolemies. Again, this is the general of Alexander the Great, took over Egypt, and then his dynasty struck these coins. This is under Ptolemy the Third. What you want with one of these is the larger it gets. So this is an AE 42, meaning that it's 42 millimeters in diameter. This could have some possible tooling. It's hard to say. The coloration's a little strange on it. It could just be the photography. But what's really interesting in these is they get in all different sizes, and to get them into the 40 range millimeter wise is one of the largest that I've done during this period.
I was going to comment that 42 millimeter coin is like a little bit over 2 inches. That's a big coin.
It's a big coin. It's a big coin. And that's the most, anything over AE 40 usually is pretty highly desirable. And so that's a good size to get with one of these. Awfully pretty. And again, just have to kind of look at it. I don't think there's too much smoothing. You have to be careful sometimes with the tooling on these, but it could be the photography. But I just, love the size of it. Again, you have Zeus-Amon, which, if you remember, we studied Lysimachus a while back with the same horn. And so this is and Lysimachus used Alexander with Zeus-Amon mixed, and here is just Zeus-Amon right here.
See, here I think it's a lock of hair until you point out that it's a horn.
It's a horn. Yeah, that's right. And so here Alexander was mixing himself with this god, and here's the god by himself.
So question. So this coin has a fairly good amount of detail. Is this level of detail more common with the larger coins?
No, because these can often, look, bronze coins were generally used in circulation the most. And so typically these bronze coins will wear quite often. So it's hard to, yes, when they were originally all struck, they all had a ton of detail, but even the small coins had detail. It's just a matter of the level of wear that they went through during their circulation. This one, obviously,
you can imagine a 2-inch coin is going to circulate much less.
Probably. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, but it's hard to, because Mother Earth can also have a lot of damage to it too. So it just depends on where it was buried and how many coins it was buried with. Obviously, the bigger the hoard, the better chance of it having less damage, because you have the, if it's in a hoard of 500 coins, then obviously the coins in the center are going to be protected by the ones on the outer edges. So, and it's just a matter of how Mother Earth treats it, and it's how the sediment, how acidic the sediment is in the area. There's a lot of
and just the environment
go into it.
Just the environment itself, the air, all that other kind of stuff, level of humidity. So I can now see where a large coin is just going to, because the surface area on it is so much more.
And
you will not be protected anywhere near as well as smaller coins.
And they didn't really do too much real estate wise with these larger ones, because you have smaller ones that, are the exact same iconography of this particular issue, and so they didn't really change it. It's just a matter of the size that it is, but it's not like they added more detail, or I should say they didn't add more iconography to the coin like you would on like a Roman bronze Sestertius, where you might have like a whole story going on about what the emperor did, or how the emperor conquered something. So because there was much more real estate, the size of this, other than a couple of symbol changes, it doesn't really change much. But obviously you get good die cutters and bad die cutters. Sometimes when you get a beautiful Zeus with all the beard really well flowing, you get the eagle's feathers really well done. So it can be a very striking coin. So, and obviously the bigger it is, and if it's in a good state, preservation wise, it's going to be pretty stunning. So,
and yet still affordable.
Yeah, relatively.
I mean, 120 euros. That's not that bad.
Yeah, I would say if it doesn't have the issues, meaning if it's not tooled or anything like this, it's about a $1,200 to $1,500 coin. So, obviously they're starting it out really low. You know, anything over AE40. I mean, I've seen some really fantastic ones of these go for as much as $4 and $5 grand. So they can garner some really strong prices depending on how nice those surfaces are and how pretty the coin is in hand. So, but in general, a lot of these Ptolemaic bronzes are less than $200 in some cases, but the AE40s usually will bring strong money. So, but it definitely a coin that's desirable and fun to hold in your hand. There's no doubt about that. Moving on, we've got lot 131. We talked about this, I don't know, maybe 3, 4, or 5 shows ago, the Roman Republican silver denarii, and this is the serrated issue, where they actually probably a counter manufacturing to keep from forgers from making the coins, and so they probably did this after the coin was struck, that they actually probably carved into the edges to show that it was silver all the way through, and that was just the style they chose. But here you've got a beautiful Hercules fighting the Nemean lion on the reverse with his club at his feet, and this is a pretty desirable coin because of the Herculean fighting going on the reverse of this coin. And I love Roman Republican coins. I think that they're really inexpensive. There's a lot of iconography on here. Most of these coins are under $300 in general. You can put together a really nice collection of Roman silver of this period for not a lot of money. And there's a lot of rabbit holes and there's a lot of different issues. And there's a lot of mythological stuff going on. Because this is before Julius Caesar came along and started putting his portrait on the coin. And so it's all gods, goddesses, mythological stuff, things having to do with the creation of Rome. So it's a really awesome period. And these coins constantly come up. And I think the serrated issue is one of the more unusual die types from this period that everybody can appreciate as being really cool and a beautiful coin to collect. So
Great.
And moving on to the last coin, lot 230. I love these coins. This is a large Hadrian Sestertius, but that galley on the reverse, I mean, anything that's ship related. This is also a great way to collect coins. We've talked about this in the past. If you're into nautical type coinage, you can do it with Greek and Roman coins. And there's plenty to be had, especially if you get into provincial. There's a lot of provincial Roman coins that have galleys. There's Greek coins that have galleys. It's a really fun thing to collect, and it really doesn't make it that you have to collect one area of coins because you're just collecting anything with a ship on it. And I have had collectors do that, and then you end up with a huge, wide range of material that isn't really focused in one area or the other. And so here's another really nice example. The coin doesn't look like it has any smoothing or tooling that I can see. Very well defined, and it's not a lot of money. So these are the kinds of coins that you can go after, not have to spend a lot of money, and really still enjoy collecting the way it should be enjoyed without it breaking the pocketbook.
This coin looks like it was minted in the last 100 years.
Yeah.
It just does.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a little wear on the obverse, but the reverse is strong. And we always say the money side of the coin. Well, in this case, the money side of the coin is the reverse of this coin. And so that's the strong part of the coin. And so, hey, got to give something up and got to make the coin a little bit less expensive. It was perfect on both sides. Now it becomes a coin that's more desirable for the wealthier clientele, and the prices are going to go a lot higher. So, you know, it's like anything else. So yeah, so there's a lot of e-auctions out there. There's a lot of print sales still going on. There's always a diamond in every single sale. You just have to look a little bit harder sometimes. And so
Yes.
that's just the nature of this time of year. There are a lot of the fall auctions are starting. We did hit C&G 130 that's coming up the end of September. I know the Kunker sale is going to be coming out soon. NAC is going to be in November, I believe. Beginning in November, and then Gorny and Mosch has their sale up online. We'll probably talk about that maybe in the next show as well. So all the fall auctions are starting to rev up right now, and they'll go all the way until November, and then you'll get a lull again a little bit, and then you'll hit the fun show and whatever auctions are there, and then carrying into the New York International in January. So, but this is the cycle of auctions.
Yes,
the way it goes.
This is the time of year when summer's over, things are picking up, and it's back to work.
Yeah. So it's going already. I know Loy had a sale over this weekend. Again, another one of their e-sales, so there's always something going on. There's always an auction going on. So it's, so guys, if you need to take a break from the auctions, you can always take a break. There's always going to be another coin. There's always another sale. It doesn't really matter. So it doesn't matter. It never stops. And so, and that's the advantage, right? Sometimes if you're awake and you're paying attention, you might get a better deal because you're being diligent, I suppose. So I think that's part of the hunt. It's part of what makes collecting fun, but also like if you just need a break for a while, take a break. You're not going to miss much. So, and if you miss something, you miss something. Who cares?
They're not making any more ancient coins. So it's like it'll wait for you. It'll be there when you're ready to come back.
I mean, there's unique coins that come up, but they don't usually come up in obscure auctions. They tend to come up in the big boy auctions. And so, you're not going to probably miss something that is so rare and scarce that you'll never see it again. And so, and most of us are not that kind of collector anyway, where you're going to be able to spend huge money to buy that scarce coin that only comes up once every 5 years. So, but for the rest of us, these auctions are a great way to keep us interested and to find interesting things. And so I know a lot of you are afraid of bidding in some of the international sales because of the tariffs. But it just depends. You just have to be careful on how you import, and there are some good ways to do it. I know some of you have gotten hit, some of you have not gotten hit. It just depends. It's just the way it is right now. But anyway, I don't know what else to say about that.
Look, life can be chaotic, particularly when you're talking about bringing things across the international line. So
yeah, using a dealer like me or one of your other dealers that are representing people in auctions, go for it. Get advice from people if in your area, if there's a dealer that you like to work with, work with them through them, or get advice from them on how they handle things. So, I'm constantly telling people what I think. It doesn't always work for everybody. I mean, I have my own broker. And so luckily, if it goes through my broker, then they handle it properly. I know it doesn't always work with, bringing it in yourself. And you might end up on the phone or on lots of email exchanges to get it straightened out.
You may spend more time and energy getting that straightened out than you would have just paying somebody else to do it.
Yeah. I have to say, though, if you have, most of you probably have things just shipped in the mail, and that's generally okay. That usually doesn't get stopped in the same ways that FedEx or DHL does. So sometimes the regular mail is probably the way to go with that. and most of us are not spending like tens of thousands of dollars on coins and auctions where you need to have it sent FedEx or DHL or UPS. And so if it's through one of the Swiss Post, or I know some of the Swiss Post has stopped sending to the US, so it just depends on the situation. And it's an evolving scenario.
It's a continually evolving situation.
Right. And so I think don't let it detract you from collecting. It's just a bump in the road. And so and remember, you can always reject something too. I've got a client who had something coming in on DHL, and they wasn't getting it straightened out with the tax, and so he just rejected it and it went back, and then they were going to resend it and maybe try a different route on how to send it in, or maybe make sure their paperwork is a little bit more sound. So you can always reject something. So in fact, these days sometimes it's easier not to have any paperwork, and then have it get stuck in customs, and then I have to have my broker fix it. And at that point, then it doesn't get mislabeled because my broker is doing it properly. And so it's almost better that way, because then the agent isn't making the decision. My broker is coming with the proper invoice that I'm providing them and saying, okay, here it is, and now please import it properly. So sometimes not having the paperwork is actually better. So just a little clue there. So in any case, so anyway,
no.
Again, gonna beat our Harlan HAB drum a little bit, and I'm going to talk about our 233rd buyer bid sale, which we just launched. And so this is a really good sale. Actually, we started again with the Curtis Clay collection. So at the beginning, if you start going through our sale and you see a lot of Severan dynasty coins, it's because it's Curtis's collection. And so it's usually the first 110 to 180 coins, and then it gets into regular stock after that. I always have it listed on where the regular stock will begin. So Curtis has some really nice Severan material in here, and I thought I would profile a couple things. We also have more of the David McDonald collection, which is a lot of Overstrikes, which is really interesting. David wrote a book on Overstrikes, and we believe he was probably working on a second book or an updated book, but he never got to it. So these were all coins he was going to use as play coins in whatever upcoming book he was going to produce. Unfortunately, David passed away. Great academic, good friend, and but we have these wonderful coins to remember him by. And so let's talk about Curtis's collection first, lot 18. This is a unique Caracal Denarius. So this reverse type does not exist on any other coin except an Aureus, a gold coin. So this is the only time this coin has ever come up with this reverse. Curtis, typically his area, he's all Roman, but his focus was the Severan dynasty. And he liked to collect everything that was unique or interesting for whatever reason. So this reverse does not come up anywhere else on a Denarius except on this coin. It's the only known example. So it's fun when you discover unique scenarios. And obviously this was, they used an Aureus die to strike the reverse of this coin. And whether or not they had tried it on lots of coins, or it was a trial coin, or it was a mistake, who knows? Hard to say. But that's what makes unique coins like that fun. Moving on, lot 203. I love this coin. So this is a tribal imitation of a Thasos overstrike on an Athenian new style Athens. So really, really cool. And it has that like Celtic look to it. So if you know the coins of Thasos, you can kind of see what it sort of looks like it, but then it's not. It's much cruder. It almost has like that Picasso feel to it, where it's like very unique looking and very stylistic. And then this is an overstrike on a new style Athens. So very, very interesting coin. And then if you go to the next lot 256, another really, it looks terrible. It looks like, oh my God, what happened here? But this is another imitation of a Thasos type or no, this is a Kenosis type overstruck on a different stator. Sorry, I didn't mean about the Thasian part. So and so you have the labyrinth on the reverse of this coin, and this is all messed up because they were overstriking on an original coin, and that's why you have all these things in here. And so David in his first book would actually write line drawings of what the original coin would have looked like underneath. So you just have to know the original coin, and then you can start to pick out the details. Very similar to when the Jews were restriking coins during the Bar Kokhba War. They were actually taking Roman silver coins and overstriking them. So you'll actually have the Roman emperor's portrait underneath the design, and those are heavily collected when you get the understrike. So so really, really cool. And then lot 572, really interesting. We don't usually have these. It's an actual 12 Caesar set in silver. I got this from got this on a consignment from a collector out out west. His grandfather started the collection in the 70s, and the last coin I believe was put in to the collection around 1990. And so it's really tough to put 12 Caesar sets together, and all of these coins have been off the market for at least 30 years or more. And so pretty interesting as far as that goes. There's some, they're not all high grade, but they're all there, and they're kind of fun. And so typically we don't sell 12 Caesar sets unless they come to us like this, because I don't want to spend the time to put them together. It takes a lot of time to put them together, to find the right coins. You have to invest a lot of money to do it. So if you, and there's always a premium on them, and there's a premium on this one as well. And so you have to, if you, I guess if you have the money to spend and you don't want to do the hunt, you just want to buy one set ready to go, you can pay the upcharge and get one. And this capital holder here, that's the original slab, if you want to say. So these were what these holders were used before slabbing, these capital holders. They did them for U.S. coins, and here they did them for ancients as well. They actually produced a 12 Caesars set one. They do rattle in there, which is kind of funny, but it is what it is. And and finally, I never do this, but I thought
before you do this, I'm going to tell you that this is the most unique item I've ever seen, at least for our show.
Cool. Thanks. Oh, the Titus. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I normally don't talk about antiquities on the show, but I thought I would talk about this one because it's so cool. So this is a Roman marble head of Titus during the period. Go back one image. Yeah, there you go. And so this, there's not very many Roman marble Titus heads that survived. The last one I know came up in Christie's, I believe. It was a little bit over life size. This one's a little bit smaller. It's about 7 inches. But that one brought like over $120,000. So the reason why this one's priced at 85 and not at much higher price is because we don't have a pedigree for it. Doesn't mean that it was newly found, because actually this piece came out of a collection out east, and it was it came up like in a book auction or something like that, and they had it estimated at $500 to $700. I didn't buy it. Somebody else bought it. They paid a lot of money for it. Then it went in another auction, and then it went for 3 times that amount, and then it came to us. And so it probably has an old pedigree somewhere, but this piece could have been in the United States for the last 50 years easily. And it happens, this happens all the time. You'll get, I know that years ago, they found, not that many years ago, actually, but they found a head, I believe, of Nero in an antique shop or a flea market somewhere. Lady found one for like $500, and it ended up, it had come out of a museum from the 40s in Europe, and it was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it does happen. It does happen. And so it'd be nice if we found the pedigree, because then I could sell it to a museum. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So, but
Just not to be on this one.
just kind of a cool thing that you don't see very often. And so I thought, we'll toot our antiquity horn.
That was
this time
definitely the
around.
most interesting thing or the most different thing that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. So anyway, that's going to bring us to our educational. And so
Educational program.
I kind of hinted before we were going to do it on the Olbia coins. So we'll wait for Mike to snag that.
I gotta get this one. Let's see. This one is this one. Okay, now I'm gonna try and make it a slideshow. Is that working?
No, here. I think if we do that, there we go. Okay. All right. So I think we're good now. So let's see here. I want to go here. So just because Mike loves maps so much, I thought
I do. I like to know where things are.
So-
And I will tell you this. Americans are absolutely stereotypically bad at geography.
Well, yeah, because we only know our own.
Well, we only care about our own. That's why.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Anyway, so Greek city of Olbia. So it was a Greek colony established by
in
settlers.
Ukraine.
Yep, settlers of Miletos in the 6th century BC. And you can see where it's located right on a bunch of rivers right there within what is now Ukraine. And you can see where Crimea is and all the different cities like Pantikapan and all the other cities around the Black Sea that were issuing coins at the time. But the harbor was one of the main emporias on the Black Sea for the export of cereals, fish, slaves to Greece, and for the import of Attic goods to Scythia. And the temples that were there were Zeus, Athena, Apollo, and a few others. And so you'll see some of that in the coinage later on. If you go to the next slide, they started out with what was called Proto-Money. And so these were actually not arrowheads, but these were actually used as money. And they were sometimes votive offerings, and then they later became currency. So around the 6th century. And then around the same time period, they got into other castes as well. But where did all this, I was wondering, like, where does all this copper come from, or where does all the gold come from, or the silver? And so if you want to go to the next slide, I kind of like did a little map here to show. So they were doing a lot of trading with Scythia, which was just just above them there. And then stuff came out of Anatolia, Bulgaria. And so there was copper coming to them for export. And then they were actually also recycling some of the older pieces as well and melting them down. And around the same time they were doing the arrowheads, they started to get into the dolphin coinage. And I think it originally probably started as tokens at the different sanctuaries to the gods. And if you want to go to the next slide. So the dolphins were probably cast like this, something like this, not exactly, where it was like a tree, and then they would like make a cast and they would break them off or cut them off.
That makes a whole lot more sense now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So a lot of these, and it may not have looked exactly like this. I mean, I asked AI to kind of draw something that would describe it, and that's what they came up with. But I don't know if they've ever actually found anything, but that's kind of the idea of how it would have been created. But it was around the same, just after the Arrowhead stuff has started to be created. And the idea is that the form of money is said to be originated from sacrificial tokens used at the temple of Apollo Delphinos, which has to do with dolphins, Apollo as a dolphin, essentially. And then the reverses started to actually have letters, Greek letters on them, and you can see some of the abbreviations and what they meant, whether it was the city's name referring to the actual Apollo, the god, the magistrate's name, a personal name, or maybe just a magistrate's signature of his name. And so you get all these different types of, and sometimes it's even the valuation of the denomination on the coins. Now, these dolphin coins are very, very common, as we saw earlier in the show, where you can buy these in quantity. They don't, I think, the one in the far bottom right where you have the group, that's kind of what they look like in mass quantity. But you want one that actually has full form with a nice eye, not broken off at the tip or at the tail, has its fin, or to get the ones that have the signatures on the reverse. I think is really, really, really cool. And so, these are the kinds of coins that you can get anytime. I love when we put these into our pick bowls and kids get them because they love, hey, that's a dolphin. Every kid loves a dolphin. So, and so they're very exciting as far as that goes. And I love them for lots of different reasons. If you go to the next slide,
well, it's hard not to.
This is a huge one, and that's the actual
wow.
on the and on the reverse
4 millimeters.
It's a massive coin. So this would have been more of a treasury type coin, moving mass amounts of value around. So this was, they weren't using gold and silver, so they were using copper, bronze. And so here you have the denomination designated on the reverse of this massive piece. This to me is more like an antiquity than a coin. It's so big. But yeah, you got it right, Mike. It's 95 grams. It's a big, big sucker, 104 millimeters long.
Right.
So, massive piece. And these come up for auction occasionally. And, they usually go for, anywhere between 7 and 12,000 and up, depending on how nice they are. So they're expensive, but they're not like $50,000 is my point. So and I think they're very, very cool. And if you collect anything from this region, to actually own something like that would be pretty exciting, I think. And with the dolphins, you can get all different kinds, right? Because you can get the different names, and they're not, most of the dolphins, might, like the crude ones might end up costing you like $20, $30, and then they go up to $100 depending on how really great they are. If you go in with a signature, they could still only be 75, or they could be 200 or 300. But again, they're relatively inexpensive for what they are. So it's a fun area to collect as well.
This particular dolphin that's on the screen right now weighs nearly 1 kilo.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a big, heavy coin.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it doesn't even feel like a coin anymore. It feels more like an antiquity. I mean, I would get a mount made. I would get a mount made for that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be putting that in a drawer. I would be putting it outside of a cabinet.
Right. Exactly. So, if we go to the next slide, they start to now move away from the dolphins. They were, they may have still been issuing them in quantity, but they start to get into other cast. Again, they're still not striking coins. They're still doing cast bronzes. So the casting still has gone here. And so some of these can be, some of the ones with the Gorgon and the eagle on the reverse have been coming up more regularly. They were pretty uncommon, but I've seen quite a few of them come onto the market in the last 5 years. And they used to sell for quite a bit of money. I think now they're selling for under $2,000 in some cases, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on how much detail. Some of these are quite rare, like the wheel one is much scarcer Don't get that one as often. But you can even see like the one in the bottom left, you can see how that would have been produced and then cut off of probably like a tree or whatever it was connected to when they were doing the casting process. It just didn't get its tang or whatever shaved off.
And you can even see some of where it leached out of the mold on the bottom.
Yep. And if you look, you see the eagle and the dolphin. It's very similar to the coins of Istris, which is right around the corner from where Olbia is. So some of these cities did copy each other. If you know the coins of Istris, you'll know what I'm talking about, where they had that exact same design on the reverse of a silver coin of a dram. So it's interesting to see how the cities actually will somewhat copy each other or take the same motifs because they were trading with each other. And so so it's I mean, maybe the Olbia had the idea first, who knows? Maybe Istris had the idea first. It's hard to say. So but again, these are also large coins. You can see 70 millimeters, 66 millimeters, 65 millimeters. I mean, they're not, these are big material, big cast bronzes.
Covers.
Yeah, they're big. Finally, if you go to the next slide, we start to get into struck coins. And so the more common one is the bronze one at the bottom left. But any silver or the gold here, very rare, hardly ever come up. Big money, tough to get. So the bronze coin, a little bit easier to acquire. Still a $300 to $500 coin, somewhere in that range. Obviously cheaper or more expensive depending on how nice it is. But those silver and the gold are extremely rare and they don't come up that often. And so for that reason, they garner a lot of money. So but I think when it comes to Olbia, it's really about the cast bronzes, and they really stuck with that all through the Greek period, and didn't really go away from it too much. And so it's interesting city, and I'm sure there's others out there. I'm not going to hit every coin ever produced when I'm doing one of these things, but you get a good feel for really what the city was trying to do at the time. And if you go to the last slide, if you want to stop this, these are some of the references that were used. If you want to pause the video and take a screenshot, if you're on your cell phone, these are some of the syllogies that are used to do attributions for some of these coins. And so there might be one missing, but this is generally some of the references that are used. And again, you can always go to AC Search or Coin Archives, search a coin, look to see how many references are being used and what's being used, and you can pretty much figure it out from there. I popped this out, Mike. We're good.
Thank you.
So so anyway, that's the coinage of Olbia.
That was cool. And that was really neat in that the area of the world is a place that is in the news, is very familiar to people right now. So
yeah, it makes me wonder, like, how much, if they're finding a lot of material, you don't really hear about it.
When they're digging foxholes, what?
I mean, I'm just saying. So
I know.
You wonder, right? When you see like a lot of those cast bronzes coming out, you start to wonder, like, well, I wonder if they found a hoard. But none of us are there, so we don't really know. You can just speculate.
We'll find out after the war.
No, I think even during the war, I mean, it's hard to say.
Well, what I'm saying is, for the information to come out,
sure,
it may not be coming out now.
Sure. And I'm surprised they haven't found another facing Panticapaean. That's the most expensive coin that ever sold, now at $6 billion. And there are several in museums, but there hasn't been another one that's come on the market. And so it's interesting that you think with a war you might see one pop up, but it hasn't. So it's interesting. There has to be more of them, but that also comes from the Black Sea. So It's hard to say. So anyway, so the Pearl of Wisdom is more of a question to ponder. And does it make sense to settle for just any coin?
I personally think that that's an obvious thing from the standpoint of no, you should never settle. There's settling for any coin, and then there's settling. Yes, sometimes you're restricted by your means or by your resources or whatever. And in those constrictions, yes, it's okay to settle. But if you just buy something for the sake of owning it and don't really pay a lot of attention to it and don't really put a lot of care into selecting it, you're never going to be proud of that coin. You're never really going to love that coin, and you are never going to feel the way about that coin that you do about coins that you've really put some effort into finding.
Yeah, that's true. I guess it all depends too on your monetary situation as well. I have some clients that are like, look, I'm never going to get this coin in this grade, and here's an opportunity for me to buy it. And even with its problems, whatever they may be, I'm able to afford it for the first time. Right. And so there's that kind of settling, which is perfectly okay. Then there's coins like, my client who owns the gold Eidmar with the hole. Most people would say, I don't want to own a coin with a hole. But if it's the only one, then guess what? You're settling
but
for that coin.
Here's the thing is I don't really think of that as settling. I think of that as being realistic and living in the world that we live in, Earth One. I think that that's what it is, that it's just not available for most people. They're dreams, they're holy grails, they're reaches. And so
don't you think
not really settling, that's just staying within your means.
Well, Mike, you just hit it right on the head. It's just being realistic.
Yes.
I think collecting is about being realistic with yourself, right? And so I think that, if you only have a certain amount of money to spend, you're going to only try to go after coins that make sense for you. And when an opportunity comes up, you may settle for something or you may let it go because you have the means or you have the patience to wait. Now, a lot of us can't afford a $10,000 coin. Right. And so you have to at that point decide, well, that's a coin I'm never going to own. And the only way I'm going to ever own it is if it's so rotten that I will able to acquire it. And now I'm settling for condition, right? And so, but that's also being realistic, right? I want to own it, and this is the only way I can own it. And so I'm going to be realistic about what I can afford. And also that could also mean that, like, to say, well, I don't want to own an ugly one. So I think
maybe you just don't pursue that rabbit hole.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. I have clients who'll come to me with auction representation. They'll say, they'll give me a list and I'll just tell them, that's not a very nice coin for the issue. These come up all the time. Don't bid on that coin. Or I might say, this has a problem. These come up 10 or 20 times a year. Let's just wait, unless you want to get it for a really cheap price, and then let's go for it because that's all it's really worth. And if it sells for more, who cares?
I have what I think to be as a kind of US version of that, in that I really wanted a three-legged buffalo, and I came across one that it had a staple scratch across the back. So the coin was clearly damaged, but all the detail on it was absolutely magnificent. So I made a decision. It's like, I can buy one that I can afford, or I can buy this one and have one that has way more detail than I'll ever be able to afford with just a slight problem. And I was able to overlook that, and I enjoyed owning.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of people can't afford Syracuse decadrams, right? Because they, anything in high grade now is 50,000 plus. But if you get one that's really corroded, or has a lot of dye rust from one of the later issues and is off center, then it becomes like a $10,000 to $15,000 coin, and that might be an opportunistic time to buy one. And
That
ultimately,
may bring it into your realm and give you an opportunity to buy something.
Right. And still, even the really poor ones are unattainable for some people, right? Not everybody even has $10,000 or $15,000 so to actually buy. And then what turns out, I think what happens is that if a decagram is 10 or 15,000, what typically happens is that the dealers go after it as well, because they see an opportunity to be able to buy one and mark it up and sell it, because it's one of the most popular coins. Right. And so that's the other thing we don't talk a lot about, is that there's a lot of dealers out there that are also bidding in these auctions and trying to buy stuff for stock. I'm one of them. I always try to do that too. If I can find a deal and I can make money off of it, then I'm going to buy it.
Well, you've got to be at the auction anyway, looking at lots for other stuff, and you see this stuff come up, and it's nice and cheap and good for stock. Why not?
Well, and that's, I always talk about that with people who are consigning to auction houses. I'm like, when you consign to an auction house, you're always taking a risk, right? You might get that like crazy doofus purchase, which every doofus purchase has a seller that's very happy. And so, so there's that, right? But those runaway prices don't happen very often. And so it's to be on the other end of one of those is very difficult. And so you're always taking a risk when you go to auction. And I can tell you, in every auction, no matter how high profile it is, I always find a good deal to be had. And where I, sometimes doubled my money because I was able to get it cheap because people fell asleep at the wheel. So, which means a very sad consigner, so it's just the nature of the beast, right? I mean, auctions in a way is gambling, right? It's gambling by the seller, and it's gambling by the buyer, because the buyer's trying to get it as cheap as they possibly can, and the seller's trying to get as much as they possibly can. And there's a lot of psychology on both ends of it. You got the auction house that wants to make money. They want to do well by their consigner, but it doesn't always work out. If they put the estimate too high, nobody bids. If they put it too low and it doesn't, and it goes cheap, then
that's their fault.
Then it's their fault, and the consigner's unhappy.
It's a tug of war. I mean, it really is. From buyer to seller, it's like, where does that rope get pulled to before the trigger finally gets pulled?
Right. So I think you just have to really realize when you're going into an auction, like I've gone in auctions with really strong bids and ended up with like 20% success rate. And at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, well, I didn't lose my client's money, and they got a couple of coins, and there's always another auction around the corner. So I'd rather do that than overpay for coins and have somebody be really unhappy. So I always try to go into it with a realistic attitude, and that's kind of what we already just hit upon. When you're settling, you're just being realistic, as Mike so wonderfully stated.
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be a negative.
No, it doesn't. And it's not, collecting there's some people who just want to buy. They don't care what the quality is. They want to just accumulate as much as they possibly can. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just a way some people like to collect. And then there's some people that are very picky, and they buy maybe one or two really great coins a year, and that's what they're into. That's fine too. It's everybody has their own patience and their own way of buying. And I don't think that one way is right over another, depending on your what kind of enjoyment you get out of it. And so that's really what it comes down to.
That's really what it is it's what is it that gives you enjoyment out of the hobby? That's what you pursue. That's what's important to you. And everybody should, to borrow an expression, let their own freak flag fly. It's do what you do.
And we will. So yeah, I guess that's episode, what are we at? 68. Oh my god.
And I owe you one. Yeah.
Almost at 7. Like, it's crazy.
It's really getting to be something. It's like 2 years. Is that where we're at?
2.5.
2.5.
2.5.
Okay. We got a pretty steady pace going.
Yeah.
It's got to be a regular thing.
Yeah.
So we would
Yeah.
like everybody, if you can, if you have not to this point, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. If you give us a thumbs up, make a comment, all those things feed the algorithm and they make us appear to more people and spread the love and spread the word to more. So that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, please make comments because that does really drive the show. And I don't care if it's just a thumbs up, in the comments, a thumbs up, or I love the show, whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
Who knows? We may decide to pull a secret contest and you don't know about it. So you should comment
Feedback is
anyway.
Always appreciated.
And a couple of you who won the last contest, I just got one of the prizes out. Sorry, I've been just busy and traveling, and so I need to get. There's one more. I think I have to get a shirt out that I forgot about to one of the contest winners. But this show is really. It's not about us making money. It's about spreading the love of collecting ancient coins, and so the more people we can convert to collecting ancient coins and is really what this is all about. So every time you make that comment, it also makes us feel good because it makes us feel like we're being appreciated, but also it does fill the algorithm and pushes the show farther into the abyss, which is what we like.
Feed the beast for us. That is the one thing you can really do that will help more than anything else. Some people ask you to, subscribe to a Patreon or something. We're not asking for money. We're not asking. Just help us spread the word. That's all we want to do. So and
remember, this show is not just our show; it's your show. So you're helping drive this show. So thanks all of you for all of your kindness, your emails when I get them, when I see you at shows, and we'll keep on doing this.
Yeah, seeing people at shows, it's like there's just so much positive feedback. It's amazing. So thank you everybody for listening. We love doing it for you, and we'll continue to do it for you as long as we can. Anything else, Aaron?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that's 68 in the book, and we will see you next time on episode 69 of the Ancient Coin Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk. We'll return with another episode soon. Meantime, you can join our private group on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com and search the Groups tab for Ancient Coin Podcast Discussion Group and ask to join. There you can become part of our community, where we share and discuss ancient coins, as well as the show, the ancient coin market, auctions, or just to give our own opinions on things in order to learn together. Join Aaron and Mike again soon for the next episode of the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk.